so that the next wave of big AI progress happens in the decentralized ecosystem rather than like in the top secret bowels of Microsoft's basement or whatever. I think that transition will go much better if the AI as it develops is decentralized and democratically governed rather than if it's owned by a small set of governments. And ChatGPT, while it can't yet obsolete 80% of human jobs or something, maybe 10%.
All right. So today, guys, I am with Dr. Ben Goertzel, and you've been described as a cognitive scientist, an artificial intelligence researcher, CEO, and founder of SingularityNET. For those who are not familiar with your work, could you describe what it is you're currently working on and what your mission is?
Actually, I'm originally a mathematician. My PhD was in math, but I've long ago drifted into the artificial intelligence world, and I've been I've been interested in AI since the early 1970s when I encountered it in science fiction, and doing research on building AI systems since really the mid 80s when I started working my graduate work. As soon as the internet became a well-known thing in the late 90s, it became clear to me you could use the internet and strong encryption and distributed processing together to make AI systems that were not only distributed but decentralized in their control. And it was clear to me that's what we should do. And I described this in a book called Creating Internet Intelligence in 2001. You want to use distributed processing, strong encryption to make a decentralized AI fabric. And I think the recent progress with GPT-4 and ChatGPT, all these similar systems, I mean, it's not AGI yet. It's stuff that we can leverage to help work toward AGI, but it also highlights how annoying it is to have these systems controlled by a few big companies, and the value of accelerating our efforts so that the next wave of big AI progress happens in the decentralized ecosystem rather than like in the top secret bowels of Microsoft's basement or whatever.
How important do you think decentralized AI is versus centralized AI? You know, we have Microsoft investing, billions of dollars into ChatGPT and all these different, Bing's going to have AI in this. How important is it that we have a decentralized version of it?
Well, I think in the long run, I think a few decades from now, maybe even 5 to 10 years from now, we're going to have AIs much smarter than human beings. And exactly how we got there might not matter that much. I mean, I think once you have AIs 20, 50, 100 times smarter than people, potentially we can have an era of utopia and abundance on Earth, right? You have super AIs. They can send out drones that drop a molecular nanoassembler in everyone's backyard that will 3D print any form of matter you want, whatever, right? So, I mean, I think even if my optimistic outlook on this is right, that we're going to get, super intelligent machines that will create abundance for everyone and will be compassionate rather than being Skynet, even if that's right, you have the question of what's the transition look like? And I think the transition during the years that artificial general intelligence unfolds potentially could be a very nasty transition. I think that transition will go much better if the AI as it develops is decentralized and democratically governed rather than if it's owned by a small set of governments and corporations. And that one question I like to pose to highlight this is, when AIs and robots have taken most of the jobs, but haven't yet created essentially infinite abundance, who gives universal basic income to the average citizen of the Central African Republic? I mean, I don't see that anyone's going to, right? And so then what happens?
Yeah.
You have a situation where a relatively small number of rich people are living off the fruits of early stage AI controlled factories, and everyone else has to go back to subsistence farming. It's because they have no jobs. I mean, it seems seems like not a stable global situation. So, I mean, I think if you want to avoid an obscene exacerbation of the gap between haves and have-nots, you need a more democratic, decentralized fabric for deployment, development, utilization of AI systems. When the AGI breakthrough comes, when people first figure out how to make real thinking machines, no one's going to have time to build a democratic, decentralized platform for it, right? So we better start building this platform now, so it's there when the breakthrough, the AGI comes. And we built a lot of that platform. I mean, we're building more and more pieces, but we have SingularityNET platform. We have something called NewNet that lets you use blockchain and tokenization to pull in more processing power to your network. We're launching now something called Hypercycle, which is a ledgerless blockchain that's much faster than regular blockchains and lets you put more and more AI operations on chain.
Now, do you think in the AI and blockchain world, what's the main value that these different AI coins that are now pumping hold? Does every AI platform need to have a token, or do you think there's going to be some select ones where it's more necessary than others?
I mean, there's a lot of AI platforms out there of varying levels of quality, right? But I mean, I think there is fundamental logic to having a utility token for a decentralized network of AI processes. So, I mean, to the extent that you have a decentralized network of software processes that are coordinating together to run AI, I mean, you need to pay for those resources somehow, right? I mean, you're running on machines, you're getting programmers to build stuff, you're buying data, and then so then you're charging some clients money in some form to run things on the network, right. And then having a native utility token for that certainly has the familiar advantages, right? I mean, you can flexibly allow people to prepay for processor time. You can have tokens used as rewards for network participants to rate other network participants and give them rewards for being good actors. So there's a lot of ways in which having a native utility token lets you build a flourishing AI network without as large of a fiat bankroll as it would take if you didn't have a native utility token. And then it has big globalization advantages also, right? Because I mean, right now the world situation is a bit weird, and there's not really any one world currency. So I mean, if you have a native token, like right now, the AGIX token can be used within Iran as well as within the US, right? I mean, Americans can't pay Iranians for stuff, or you're violating sanctions, but Iranians can pay each other. And interestingly, like, Americans could pay Ethiopians for a service, the same Ethiopians could pay Iranians for a service. No one's violating sanctions, right? So I mean, there is the ability to cut past weird political stuff just by using tokenomic mechanisms that don't rely on it. So I think there certainly is fundamental logic to having utility tokens behind AI platforms, and these can be vertical market specific too. So the Rejuve network which is a spin-off of SingularityNET, they have their own token, the Rejuve RJV token, which just launched last week actually. But what that token does, you give it as an incentive to people for contributing their biomedical data into a decentralized data commons, where the biomedical data can then be crunched by AI and machine learning algorithms to try to give you advice on your own body and what therapies you should be taking and what may be weaknesses in your body and lifestyle. But also the AI can try to discover new therapies for human health and longevity based on the data that people contributed, right? So there's a value to having a novel token, the Rejuve token, to compensate people for their data contributions. On the other hand, the AGIX token is used on the back end there to pay for the AI processing behind the Rejuve network, right? So there we have automatic token conversion by a conversion bridge between the Rejuve and AGIX token. And I mean,
Do you think it's because of the recent launch of ChatGPT like 3 and then 4? Or were there other things happening in the AI space this year that kind of also gave that push to all these AI tokens?
It would appear to me much of this boost was due to ChatGPT and associated enthusiasm, and I think it's actually quite rational in the sense that ChatGPT, then Google Bard, Claude, Stable Diffusion, all these systems, I mean, they show the AI market is going to be growing really, really, really fast in the next few years, right? And so the rationally estimated market size that decentralized AI projects are addressing, I mean, the best estimate of that is much bigger than it was last year. So then it makes sense that token prices should have gone up. I mean, I think after some period of time, decentralized projects need to be actually grabbing more and more of this market share, or it will be clear like big tech is running away with it, and the blockchain world doesn't get any, right? But I think right now it's pretty much wide open, though. I mean we're still at early stage in the generative AI revolution, and that's not even the last AI revolution to come. Like, we haven't even gotten to real general intelligences yet, because these ChatGPT type systems are still basically recombining and repermuting their inputs in clever ways rather than fundamentally inventing new stuff. So I mean, I think there's still plenty of time for decentralized projects to grab the generative AI space.
How much more advanced do you think AI is that is out, that's not just available to the public yet? You know, how much more advanced are we on that scale?
No, in terms of real practical functionality, I think that doesn't exist. I mean, because the nature of these large language models is it's really expensive to train these models, right? So I mean, the server infrastructure that OpenAI used, it's like something like 5 clusters, each of which has 1,000 top of the line GPUs, right? Like, I mean, if you want to build a server farm to do this stuff at the level they're doing it, it's a couple $100 million, right? So I mean, it's not that casual. Now, we're taking a different approach in that we're able to cobble together processing on machines running all over the place into a common decentralized network. We don't necessarily need one monolithic server farm. But
Right.
The point is, it takes a lot of data, a lot of processing power. Like, it's a big thing to throw together one of these cutting edge AI systems. And you can see, I mean, like Google, throughout Google Bard recently, doesn't seem quite as clever as Bing and GPT-4, although Google invented the core technology underlying ChatGPT, which is transformer neural networks. They haven't pushed it forward as aggressively. Now, Google does have what they call Big Bard, which is a smarter version that they haven't released yet because it goes a little more off the rails, and they don't want that. But I doubt Big Bard is like twice as smart as GPT-4 or something, right? So
Gotcha.
What I do think, though, is there's technology in the AI research world which is much better than GPT-4, but has not been scaled up yet. And what you're going to see now that everyone sees what GPT-3 and 4 can do, you're going to see more and more stuff plucked from all the AI research that's been done in the last number of decades since the AI field was founded in the 50s, right? I mean, you're going to see more and more stuff deployed at large scale, and then more and more amazing functionality come out. So one thing along those lines that we're working on now, we're working on putting large language models that are somewhat GPT-like together with logical reasoning engines that use just mathematical logic to do precise inference. And if you can hybridize a large language model with a logical reasoning engine, then you can have something that uses the power of language models but also understands the distinction between truth and bullshit, which is what logic is good at, right? And so what's the bottleneck there? It's not really a theoretical bottleneck. It's just making a logical reasoning engine that works at GPT-4 scale. right? And so now we're working on doing all the computer science and software engineering behind that in SingularityNET, but we're doing that in a way that's decentralized from the get-go, right? So that you can use big server farms, and we're working with a bunch of Bitcoin miners who are replacing some of their mining machines with multi-GPU servers to power AI, actually. So you can use big server farms, but you can also use the processing here, right? So I mean, you can, because you have this decentralized framework for pulling in diverse processing power. But the logic engine is one example. These have existed in AI for a long time. They've never been deployed at this sort of massive scale before. And we've been talking to crypto miners since the Ethereum merge about like, well, okay, your Ethereum mining boxes are basically useless, but you've got all this all this electricity, all this air conditioning. Like, why don't you replace some of your Ethereum mining boxes with servers that are good for running AI, and then run our AI networks here, right? And we had those conversations. Things were going slowly. What we saw is, since ChatGPT, all these people running mining farms are like, yes, tell us exactly how to convert half our mining farms to AI processing farms, right? Because they can see they can see how powerful AI is now. Now, what we can run on these AI mining farms and AI processing farms, and we can run large language models similar to ChatGPT, but we can also run scaled up logic engines and other types of AI processing, right? And of course, the people running these mining farms don't care. They just want to make money running AI, which right now is, at this moment, is a better way to make money than mining Bitcoin, but it does require different machines. So they have to buy different hardware to put in the farms.
Would the same people that run the render network token be able to do the AI version of mining? Render network?
It's slightly different machines. The thing is, AI needs a lot of RAM on the GPU. They're often buying new machines every couple of years and throwing out the old ones anyway. Like most of the capex is on like the physical plant and electricity coming in and the air conditioning for all the machines and so forth. So conversations are getting quite interesting. I mean, we're talking to a couple developing countries that just have huge dams generating massive amounts of electricity, and they're like, we have gigawatts of electricity. What can we do with all this? Oh, AI, right? So I think there's a lot of doors that are being opened by the success of ChatGPT that don't even necessarily have to do with ChatGPT specifically, but are just people saying like, we need an AI strategy. Tell us what we can do with AI.
Yeah. Were you surprised how many people signed up for ChatGPT, or did you always know like once it caught on, it would catch on like wildfire, or were you like pleasantly surprised that it was like the first to get 100 million?
I wasn't surprised everyone signed up for it. I mean, because you could see a breakthrough in terms of practical end user functionality. I mean, is ironic because it was really Google's invention, not OpenAI's invention. But I mean, Google chose not to roll it out aggressively because of the innovator's dilemma. Basically, they're like, well, we don't want to roll out something that will go off the rails and will make us look bad. OpenAI is like, well, we don't care. Microsoft's like, no one's using Bing anyway, so we don't care if it's a little psychotic as long as it's cool, right? So I think ChatGPT, while it can't yet obsolete 80% of human jobs or something, maybe 10%, but I mean, still that's a lot, right? And it's still, I think it makes intuitively clear that a majority of what humans do for a living can be obsoleted by this category of AI system, even though it's not a real human level general intelligence. And this is going to have massively economically disruptive effects, which some of us have been foreseeing for our whole careers. And now I think everyone can see very clearly, right?
What do you think the first types of jobs to go are, and what do you think can't be replaced within like 10 years?
I think the only thing that can't be replaced within 10 years are jobs that are just based on human to human connection by their nature. Like, say, a preschool teacher. This is really about the network of people, and it kind of has to be. I mean, I think that psychotherapy is like that. I mean, some aspects of nursing care are like that. Many aspects of teaching are like that. So I mean, there are those jobs that are really just about people interfacing with people, and sort of should be and have to be.
Yeah.
If we set that aside, what are the last other jobs that would be taken over by AIs? I say anything that requires taking a big leap beyond what was known. And I mean, scientific discovery does that, right? Invention does that. I mean, look at, like, human to human connection will never be obsoleted unless humans are deleted, right? And things that involve taking big creative leaps, whether in science, engineering, arts, or business, or government policy for that matter, things that involve taking big creative leaps will be the last things to be obsoleted, apart from direct heart-to-heart human connection.
Interesting. Okay, switching gears,
I
I
know
want to talk about
we're a long way from altcoin buzz here, but that's the nature of AI.
No, it's all super interesting, and it makes you think. Like, I feel like I need to go on a Googling rabbit hole of YouTube tonight, and just think about this stuff more. But in the same kind of vein, though, you have Singularity. So you're just talking about finance and how that's a little bit harder to kind of outsource to AI. But you also have Singularity DAO in the Dynasets. Could you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, we have Singularity DAO, which is basically using decentralized AI, decentralized machine learning for automatic, buying and selling of baskets of altcoins. And I mean, I think, they've been using machine learning in conventional finance for a long time, right? I remember in the 90s, Rentec, Renaissance Technologies, which is the most successful hedge fund ever, was hiring every natural language processing and machine learning PhD they could get their hands on. So it's been going on in real finance for a long time. Now in crypto finance, we're getting toward the era where AI and machine learning should be, doing most of the provision of liquidity to markets. And we've been prototyping and experimenting with this. We've been running what we call Dynasets, which are dynamically balanced baskets of altcoins traded by machine learning algorithms. There's still challenges there. We're still early stage. I mean, the big issue is just the frictional cost of trading is high. If you're within a centralized exchange, it's not so high, but the markets inside centralized exchanges are heavily manipulated by various parties. And really, what we're after is decentralized finance, not finance within a centralized exchange. So I think we're able to do interesting stuff now. As frictional cost on DEXs comes down, then we're going to see AI-based trading become dominant, right? So I think in a year or two, I mean, we're seeing cost of trading on DEXs coming down rapidly. In a year or two, it should be low enough that AI-based trading will sort of eat everyone's lunch. Now we're able to still do some interesting things. The big limitation is you can't do high frequency trading on DEXs, right? And this is where AI has excelled most in traditional finance, is high frequency trading. What we figured out in Singularity DAO is how to use AI as well for more directional trading and prediction on Dynasets, which is also interesting. I mean, this brings us to Hypercycle, which is another SingularityNET ecosystem project that we're just launching now.
Do you think the CBDCs will become that universal basic income that people have when AI takes over?
Well, no, because they're not universal. They're tied only to rich countries, right? I mean, what use is a
Right. Well, it would
CBDC for
only be in the
Ethiopian
rich
bird?
countries.
Yeah, I mean, I think CBDCs will come, and of course they will be used as a mechanism for UBI of some form or another within
Hmm.
the developed world. And I think there will be a bunch of obviously crazy political ups and downs on the way there. Of course,
Yeah.
in the US, for example, the political party more in favor of basic income would be the Democrats, which is more generous on social welfare. On the other hand, Democrats have been anti-crypto more than Republicans so far. So there's
Yeah.
a lot of political complexity there. You know, you see Amazon and Google don't want to hire developers in Nairobi or Addis Ababa or Kigali. They want to hire people in their offices in Silicon Valley in New York. Now, if cryptocurrency
Hmm.
world, the blockchain world is more democratic, I mean, we can leverage AI developers and software developers living anywhere on the planet, right? Because it's just decentralized in organization in a way the big tech isn't. So I think the decentralized world can play a big role in spreading the wealth, not via charity, although there's that aspect too. But I mean, just by having an economic model that can leverage expertise and talent anywhere on the globe much better than big tech can. Because with a platform like SingularityNET, where anyone can put an AI on the network and people can use it and pay for it, or Singularity DAO, I mean, anyone in the world can put online a predictive model that predicts the future of a financial time series based on the past. If they've made a good financial prediction engine and put it online, ultimately that can wind up used inside a Singularity DAO Dynaset, right? So I mean, the decentralized ecosystem gives ways for
Yeah.
technically talented people around the world to make money. The Rejuve network, you can get Rejuve tokens for uploading information about your own body, you know, whether you live in Ethiopia, Kenya, or the US, and you get the same number of tokens for it, right? So, I mean, I think the crypto ecosystem potentially can even out some of this inequality. It certainly doesn't solve everything automatically, but on the other hand, if some of the big AI breakthroughs happen in the decentralized world with a tokenomic economics underlying it, right? Then all of a sudden working for tokens and getting reward tokens for things becomes an increasing segment of the global economy. But this is a segment that can be entered into equally by people in any country on the planet.
Could you talk a little bit more about what about Rejuve, because that seems like something that is really it's really interesting for like the global world, because it reminds me of like how 23andMe, you know, they have the DNA things, and then I did it once a
So
while back, and like they
they
still
stole
email me today
and they
about
stole your
like,
DNA, the GlaxoSmithKline. That's right. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. Exactly. So like Rejuve, I feel like is the decentralized version of that. Am I correct? Or is it like
Yeah,
I don't know.
it is. You could look at it that way. Yeah, it's not restricted to
Oh,
DNA data, and we're more AI oriented than 23andMe was. I mean, they could have been, because I mean they were founded by, I think, the wife of one of the Google founders, but they never went so far in the AI direction. But yeah, it's quite similar to that, right? It's, I mean, you can contribute basic stuff like answer questions about yourself or steps data, or if you have like an Apple Watch that can do pulse oximetry and galvanic skin response and stuff. So you can put fairly basic data in and get some reward tokens for it.
and Rejuve was just launched on the Singularity DAO launchpad, right? Are you going to be launching
Yeah,
other AI
yeah.
projects like that?
It was launched primarily on Singularity DAO. We also work with a DAO maker and a
DAO
couple
maker? Yeah.
other launch pads there. And there's, I think, Hypercycle is not formally announced yet, but it's reasonably probable Hypercycle, this ledgerless blockchain I've mentioned a few times before, will be something that we roll out sometime in the near future if all goes well. And there's another project called Jam Galaxy, which aims to tokenize the music industry. Sort of a similar thing, like
Hmm.
musicians can upload songs and also stemmed tracks, like a song with each musician's contribution in a separate file.
What is it now that we've had ChatGPT come out and we've had more AI advancements? What are you most excited about that's coming out this year that other people don't know about?
There's going to be so many things, it's almost hard to put a finger on it. But I mean, the thing I'm most excited about that I hope we can bring out this fall, although it could slip to early next year, is something we already talked about a bit. It's combining ChatGPT type systems with logical reasoning systems, so we get a ChatGPT type thing that knows when it's hallucinating and doesn't spout a bunch of bullshit. Because I think if you have that, you just open up the breadth of applications considerably. Like, so we have an elder care robot named Grace that's built by a project called Awakening Health. It's a joint venture of SingularityNET and Hanson Robotics, the makers of Sophia. If we can put a logic engine on top of the large language model in a way that can recognize ground truth and tell when it's hallucinating, I mean, then that will open up a bunch of very beneficial applications like medicine. And I'm also personally very excited about bringing AI into music.
You have the music app that you're training to do models, and you have the health one. Do they all come to you through SingularityNet, or do they do it themselves? Like they upload it to the marketplace themselves to sell?
I mean, SingularityNet is a decentralized protocol, right? So, I mean, for someone to upload something on the SingularityNet marketplace, they don't have to tell me. They just have to run that proxy code on their machine. I would say, so far we've gotten some uptake on the marketplace. I mean, some folks made a music app, a song splitter app that strips out vocals from music to make karaoke, and the Rejuve app has an AI model inside it that tells you stuff about your body and lifestyle based on data you put in. That AI runs on SingularityNet platforms. So we've had people put cool stuff in there, but we haven't had the level of uptake that we had hoped for. I think actually the large language model era is going to be key here, because what it means is that in the next era, most AI is going to be sort of plugins or little dApps running on top of a large language model, right? So what that means is if we have our own large models that are offered via SingularityNet, to get access to them, people will have to upload their plugins to SingularityNet, right? So OpenAI launched a plugin architecture recently, so you can run your plugins on ChatGPT, but then you're paying OpenAI for their API calls every step of the way, and you're also bound by whatever arbitrary guardrails OpenAI has put on, and some countries can't use it, right? So I mean, I think as we progress, when we make stuff that's smarter than ChatGPT, but accessible via SingularityNet APIs, then a lot of people will end up putting plugins to that, and they have to be in SingularityNet platform and using AGIX token then. So I think that the shift to most AI being plugins to large models actually is very beneficial to those who own a platform or who operate a platform, as long as you have a cutting edge large model offered via your platform, right? Which we will very shortly.
Back to the kind of regulatory front. Right now, we're seeing in crypto in America specifically, they're coming out with these regulations, and a lot of on the Democratic side, maybe they're more anti-crypto. Will there be a point when it gets to AI being more trained and more knowledgeable? Will there be kind of like stops or regulations that come towards AI? You know, if it becomes, I don't know, too smart, or, you know, it can hack into government things, something like that. Do you think that's a possibility?
There certainly are efforts there, but yet I don't know that they'll work very well. I mean, you know, there's all sorts of government regulations on export of cryptography technologies. I mean, not about cryptocurrency, just, I mean, crypto code is classified almost as a munitions, right? So you're not, there's all these rules against sharing code embodying new encryption schemes with overseas people. But I mean, in the end, it hasn't mattered, right? I mean, encryption schemes are published in open literature. China has them, Russia has them, everyone has them, right? So, I mean, I think certainly controlling AI code and algorithms won't work any more than it has with cryptography schemes. Certainly, there will be attempts to regulate AI, but it's a tricky thing, right? Like they would like to regulate AI hardware, but wait, it's all made in TSMC in Taiwan, right? Like how do you really how does anyone regulate that? Taiwan is in a position where nobody can regulate it, really. So I don't know how well that's in the end going to work out.
All right, my final question to you: how long do you think it is until we get to the point where AGI is fully smarter than the traditional human, and they don't just create generative stuff, but can also create new things?
Hey, 3 to 7 years, I think. I mean, not
sooner than I thought.
It's not GPT-5. I don't think it's going to be a GPT system, but these GPT type systems will be a component of it, glommed together with some other components that are better at creative invention and logical reasoning. I mean, I think part of the reason why I think it can be that soon is there's just so much enthusiasm and so many resources going into the space now that causes a snowballing effect. But I mean, if you go back to Ray Kurzweil's book, The Singularity is Near, and his earlier book, The Age of Spiritual Machines, he did a curve plotting exercise, looking at the progress of the internet, the speed of different processors, the progress of compute memory, the process of speech to text. He did an elaborate curve plotting exercise, resulting in the conclusion we'd get to human level AI in 2029. And I mean, he's not been right about everything, but we're going, that's 6 years from now. I think we're going fairly close to tracking what his prognostications were. My difference of opinion with Ray is he thought we'd get human level AI in 2029 and massively superhuman AI in 2045. I don't think the gap's going to be that long. I think it's going to be at most a few years between getting an AI as smart as you or me and getting an AI 10 times as smart as us, because it's going to it's going to be rewrite its own code base. It's going to design a new chip to accelerate its own thinking, and I think these things will take some time. I think we've got less than 10 more years of the era where humans are the top minds on the planet, which if this is right, the world economy and government and corporate decision makers and so on are just not seeing the world the right way, right? And anyone who does see the world the right way has a lot of opportunity, both to gain personal and economic advantage, and more importantly, to bring benefit to the world because of seeing what's coming better than the powers that be currently do. Like I think that the powers that be are waking up to AI a bit because of ChatGPT.
Right.
So for that reason,
tend to not think about the things we don't like.
No, and not about the things that will threaten our status and power, right? I mean, so I think for that reason, it's going to be mostly people in your generation rather than mine who are driving the next set of revolutions. But there's a few of us old people who are crazy enough to want to see everything that we're doing disrupted on a frequent basis.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Ben.